Support for this episode comes from Dexcom. I'm so excited that the Dexcom G7 is here. I know you probably have a lot of questions about insurance. You're not alone. Dexcom understands how complicated this can seem, and they've made it as simple as possible. Dexcom is the #1 covered CGM brand. You can visit the Dexcom Savings Center for a free benefits check to see what coverage options are available to you. Powerful and simple, Dexcom G7 is proven to lower A1C and help you spend more time in range. Learn more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Dexcom logo.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, we know you're gearing up for holiday shopping and watching those Black Friday specials, so we're talking about diabetes tech that should be on your list. I'm chatting with Justin Eatzer from Diabetech about devices and apps that don't make diabetes easy, but can lighten the load a bit. And some of them are even a little bit fun. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of the show. I am always so glad to have you here. You know we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. As this episode goes live, it is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. So if you're traveling, I hope everything is safe and easy and there's not too much traffic. If you are hosting, is it time to defrost the turkey? I don't know. My husband is the cook in the family, so he always does Thanksgiving when we host. But hey, it can't hurt to ask, right? When it comes to diabetes, especially if you or your child is newly diagnosed or newer, if this is your first big holiday or even your second or your third, it can be very stressful. We've done a bunch of episodes in the past with advice from moms and from adults with type 1, and I'm going to link some of those up in the show notes. I'll put some out on social as well. But this year, we wanted to just talk about something fun. I've done some holiday lists in the past, but I was thinking about it for this year, and Benny is basically independent. He's lived with diabetes, my son, for 18 years next month, and he is almost 20 years old. And I don't have much to do with his diabetes, and I certainly don't have a lot of diabetes stuff around the house anymore, which is very, very strange. So I invited Justin, better known as Diabetech, to talk about what is on his list for this year. Justin's been on the show before. He has a pretty incredible story about how sharing his symptoms on TikTok led him to the correct diagnosis. Like a lot of adults, he was misdiagnosed at first. You've seen him on CNET, where he's a contributor now. He's the founder of Diabetech, reporting on consumer and diabetes technology. It has been really fun to see him jump into the diabetes community. I was going to say jump in with both feet, but he jumps in with like both arms. He's got technology on him all the time. He's always trying something new, and he's super enthusiastic, which I think is great. Having reported on this stuff for a very long time, I don't want to say I'm cynical. I don't think I am, but I certainly look at things a little differently than I did those first few years. And having new people come into the community, it stinks because it means new people are being diagnosed, but I think it's also really good because it gets new, fresh eyes on this stuff. All right, before we jump in with this list, I do want to let you know I have a Black Friday special of my own for Mom's Night Out. I'm putting it on social later this week, but you can use it now. It's good on our 2025 locations where registration is open. And right now that is Atlanta at the end of January and Cleveland at the end of February. Just use promo code FRIDAY to save. We will be in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul in September, and we will be in Phoenix later on in the fall. We are waiting on venue confirmation for those dates. I can't give you the Black Friday on the fall dates because registration isn't open, but you can shoot me an email and I'll kind of save that for you. The promo code is FRIDAY. That's our Black Friday special for Mom's Night Out. All right, please check the show notes for all of the links to the products we talk about. And you should know, full disclosure, there are a couple that Justin is an affiliate for, and there's one that I've done advertising for. So we may make some money if you buy via our links. And that is nice if you do, but it is certainly not required. Our conversation right after this. Most people who take insulin have experienced low blood sugar. It can be disorienting and scary. Very low blood sugar is very scary. And that's where Gvoke HypoPen comes in. Gvoke HypoPen is a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above. If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready to treat very low blood sugar with Gvoke HypoPen. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Gvoke logo. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on top of your kidneys called pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information. Justin, welcome back. Always fun to talk to you. And I am excited about this. This is going to be a fun conversation. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm in Palm Springs right now, living my digital nomad life. It's been fun so far.
All right,
bopping around.
Bopping around. Before we get started, I saw you at the premiere of Wicked. What was that about? I'm such a fan of that show. I cannot wait for the movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I lived in LA for 8 years, so I'm pretty well connected over here. And
nice.
Since I was in the area, I had a friend who gets invited to all the movie premieres. He's very in Hollywood. And he asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, hell yes. That show holds such like a special part of who I am. I was 13 years old when it came out. It helped me be okay with, I guess, being gay and loving show tunes. And I had passwords that were Wicked 1, 2, 3, like everything. It was everything to me. So being able to go to this premiere and see the stars, and it was such a huge production in downtown Los Angeles at a beautiful theater with like 4 levels. It was awesome. So yeah, thank you to my friend who got me in, and I got to meet Steven Schwartz, the composer of the music, who he's friends with Steven. So that's nice. That was our in. And it was just, it was a wonderful night. And the movie's great. I'm excited for everyone to see it. I'm going to go see it again in a couple weeks.
This may sound silly, but I am always curious. When you do something like that, diabetes-wise, anything that you do differently, anything that happens? Because I would imagine the adrenaline, you don't want to do a lot of stuff for those 2 hours and 40 minutes that you're sitting there trying to enjoy the movie. Anything to share from that perspective?
I think whenever you go into live entertainment or a movie theater that's going to be quiet, it's nerve-wracking because, what if my alarm goes off on my pump or my CGM? So I always, I think I was on G6 at the time. I just switched back to G7, which has like amazing alert features like for quiet modes. So I didn't have my quiet modes. What I do is I put do not disturb mode on just for all alerts. And then when I'm using G7, I put on quiet modes, which you can do like a vibrate mode or silence mode. And those allow you to get alerts silently. And as long as you confirm them, like the lows or the signal loss, then you're fine. You won't get a sounded alert. I try to wear my Apple Watch also during productions like this, because then I can quickly see on my wrist, what the alert is and then confirm it and not have to take out my phone, which has like a bright screen, right? Yeah. And then, of course, like low snacks are so important. And I always carry at least 45 to 60 grams of carbs, like four or 15-gram low snacks. And I'm usually pretty good at knowing, based off of the meal I had, how many correction carbs I could need if something went wrong, right? There's only a certain margin of error that there could be. So I kind of, make sure that I'm prepared for that.
I always feel like, as you said, movie theater shows, when I was more active with the Dexcom Follow on Benny, I used to like check it right before everything would start. And then like, you're going to laugh, but like sometimes I would sit on my phone because then you'd get the vibration, but you wouldn't have to see the bright screen and kind of scoot over and say, oh, do I have to take action? Because you don't want to disturb the people around you, but you want to get your alerts.
No, and it's, it's your health. It's a very important alert. And in the past, I've had panic attacks, at a Broadway show because I thought I was going low and I was not on the aisle. Like, also choosing an aisle seat is something I try to do often, or being very close to the aisle where I don't feel like I'm inconveniencing people if I have to run out of the theater and, grab a soda or something.
Yeah. All right, let's move into our technology discussion for today because I'm excited. This is interesting because I think this is something that has probably changed in the last couple of years. When we were back in the blogging days of the mid 2000s and even a little bit later into the 2010s, talking about diabetes tech on a holiday list was a little odd because you're talking about like DME stuff. There wasn't a lot you could buy that you didn't need a prescription for, or that seemed like it wasn't really an add-on. It was a huge necessity. But that's not what we're talking about today, right? Give me paint the picture a little bit here.
I love technology, obviously. That's why I started Diabetech, and I'm always looking for these cool devices that can make life with diabetes easier, but also more fun. I mean, I even have on my set always like a couple screens that show off my glucose readings. Not even just for me, which it's nice though, because right now I'm looking at my screen and I can see my glucose readings. I don't have to take out my phone, right? But also, so the person who I'm speaking to, you know exactly what that reading means on screen. And if you see it go red and it say 67, you'll know, Justin, do you need to take a break? And I can be like, yeah, I actually do. That hasn't ever happened. But yeah, there's so much fun tech out there that makes also like a great gift.
All right. So what is that behind you? Is that what we're starting off with here?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, I mean, this right here, it's a small little screen called Sugar Pixel, and I don't know what size it is. It's kind of like the size of a phone, I guess, but like a little longer and maybe shorter height wise.
It's
And
like
what
an
it
old
does,
clock radio to me. Like that's the size of the screen, not the whole device, but it looks like an old clock radio screen.
Exactly. And it's an LED screen. It uses lights to light up with your glucose reading, a trend arrow, colors, and it has so many different types of screens. But basically, what it does is it connects to your continuous glucose monitors and takes that information and displays it in kind of whatever way you want, with like an app that you can control it with.
With the Sugar Pixel, you've got your number and your arrow right now. Can you change that so it doesn't display a number all the time? Can it do colors or just indicators, emoji kind of stuff?
Yeah, it has a lot of different types of screens. Some that, yeah, you could do different emojis. So if, like I guess if you're 100, there will be like a unicorn, or if you're really high, it will have like a face that's like sick. Or if you're doing great, you're in range, like a little emoji with sunglasses. It also does like a full screen color. So it could do like a green screen, a yellow screen, a red screen based off of your levels. I'd say there's probably maybe 10 different screens, and these can all be controlled from the app. You can choose which one you want. You can also set time zones for when you want certain ones to go on. And also, there's a button on top that also acts as a snooze button for alerts. But when you hold down on it, it shows you a different type of information. So when I'm holding down on it, it's showing me the time and my reading. And then along the bottom, there's also these little lines. There's 5 lines and they illuminate every minute. So for CGMs like the Dexcom, which update every 5 minutes, when the next reading's coming up. And when you have a low, you're dying to see what that next reading is. So it's a nice little indicator. But yeah, there's different screens for what everyone wants. And, some may be better for like color.
I just think, right. I like that color because when I just think, we can only have our own experiences. And when my son was a toddler, those numbers would have been amazing. But then you get like maybe a 10 or 11-year-old who is like, I don't want my number blasted around the house. So maybe it's just a color. And then as an adult, you make your own decisions. But I like that flexibility. I always get, if you're a long-time listener, you get like a little titchy when you see numbers all over the house, just because I think a lot of kids may not want that. But I like the flexibility.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite features of this is the nighttime screen, because what it does is it dims the screen so low and only has 4 pixels. So right now it's using, I don't know, maybe 50 pixels to illuminate my number, but it only has 5. And it's these 5 dots that change color and then blink based off of the 5 minutes. And it's just like a nice setting to have at night. You don't have to worry about this screen being too bright. It's so dim and it could be in the corner of a room, but you can wake up and just know you see it green and you're like, okay, I'm good. The nice thing about this, some people would worry, is having this screen going to make me more anxious? Because that's totally valid. There's aspects of this that actually make you feel more comfortable just kind of seeing it in the corner of your eye.
That's great. Okay, so with the changing colors, that brings us very naturally to another item on your list, which is glucose. I've seen these.
Yes.
They're in my town. They're in Charlotte. That's where they're based.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we like
cool.
glucose a lot. We're just nice to check in with them.
Yeah, so this device only works with color. It's this small little ball-shaped device that kind of looks like an Amazon Echo Dot. It's
Yeah.
like the same kind of shape, and it's really light. All it is this like silicone-shaped ball with like some LED indicators inside that make it glow. And it goes through the colors of the rainbow, I guess, starting from kind of red being a severe low, all the way up to green being in target range and cycling through those colors. And then it goes up to like a deep purple, meaning you're very high. And there are, colors in between that indicate kind of where you're headed. And it's as simple as that. It's just color. You don't know if you're going up or down unless you stare at it and see kind of how the color's changing. But it's this nice, simple indicator that you can use as a little, piece in your room that also to anyone else would just look like a little accent light. It doesn't, blare out, I have diabetes and this is my number. You should worry. You don't even have to tell anyone what it is. Although, it's really funny. I have one in my apartment and my roommate would know when I was having a low just by, if he was, hanging out in the living room, but I'm out in another country, wherever, and he'd text me and be like, hey, I see your glucose is red.
Oh, that's so funny. It was still attached. That's great.
Yeah, because this device and SugarPixel, they're all working online. This is over Wi-Fi. So it's not connecting directly to your CGM or your phone. This is all over the internet. It works the same as your Follow app, right? Your Follow app is getting internet readings from the CGM as well.
Yeah. I think the glucose being so discreet like that is great for an office setting, or something where, again, I brought up those tweens and teens who sometimes don't want a lot of in-your-face stuff. But I do like that.
Also, I don't know if you could tell, but my device back here, my SugarPixel, this is on a battery. I have it on just an external battery. So this is not connected to an outlet. You could take this to the park and connect it to your phone as a personal hotspot and still have this working. So you can really take this anywhere. You can connect to the internet.
So those are two pieces of diabetes tech that are simple, easy. They're just kind of attached to your CGM and use them as you like. But this next one's a little bit more complicated. I was just looking at this, the Sweet Dreams app. This is a platform. I know you're more familiar with it. So why don't you take us down the road on this one?
Yeah. So Sweet Dreams is an iPhone app. It's only on the iPhone right now. And basically what it does is it acts as a conduit from your CGM readings or your account, takes that information and then can display it in a few different ways on your phone or your Apple devices. So one way it works is it puts this, what's called a live activity on your lock screen. So Apple introduced live activities, I believe, with iOS 17 a couple years ago. And many people listening probably already see these on a daily basis, whether they're ordering at Starbucks and there's a live ticker of where it is. Domino's has had this forever, but then there's Uber or Lyft. When you call one of those, there's a little ticker on your iPhone screen showing, how many minutes away your car is. This app uses the same functionality and allows you to have second by second readings and updates of your glucose levels. It's kind of this little hack around widgets because Dexcom G7 has a widget on the lock screen now, but widgets only update every 15 minutes, and minute by minute numbers, especially if you have a Libre, which updates every minute, those are more appealing. So it uses that functionality to display your readings.
Is it something where it's just for the user? Is it tied into your endocrinologist? Is it a platform like that? Or is it just really right now more for readings? Right back to the interview. But first, Diabetes Connections is brought to you by EdgePark. Life is busy and managing diabetes is a daily, sometimes hourly commitment. Well, EdgePark can help you say goodbye to the worry of managing your diabetes supplies with a variety of cutting-edge insulin delivery systems from brands like Medtronic and Tandem. Plus, EdgePark accepts most insurance plans and handles the paperwork, so you can simplify your life, your diabetes care, and your budget in one click. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the EdgePark logo.
It's mostly for readings. It does have customizable alerts.
Okay.
It has a feature where it will voice out to you what your readings are. And so the Sweet Dream says that this could be good for people who go on runs. So when you're running, you can set it to give you voice alerts as to what your readings are in kind of the amount of time that you wanted to tell you over that run. It also, I didn't mention this, but on the Apple Watch, it also takes advantage of the live activity feature. So you have those readings on your watch. And I think what the coolest ability here is that it's just using an account. So if you're someone who follows someone, you don't have to have that CGM connected on your phone. You just need to log in with that person's account to get those readings sent to your device.
What is the appeal of Sweet Dreams? Why do you need something extra?
The way I use it is to relieve anxieties. And the best example I can tell you is I remember going on a date right after downloading the app. And I always hate, when you're on like a first date, you have to take out your phone to check, why am I feeling this way, or to bolus, right? And just the ability to just slide my phone out of my pocket and glance at this large ticker that is also customizable. I could see a big circle that said my number, had a color, and I could just slide my phone back into my pocket. I don't need to take out my phone, open up the app, look at it, and put it back in. Removing these little habits, especially from social situations, have a huge effect. And just the ability to be discreet in that way made me feel more comfortable on that date. Because I always explain why I'm looking at my phone, because I think it's rude. When you're on a first date, you don't want to look at your phone, right? So I'm like, I'm looking at my glucose or, whatever. So didn't have to do that.
Well, and that's a good point because, just like the diabetes technology that is by prescription, we always talk about having great options. It's nice to see more and more options in these other types of kind of add-ons or additional bits of technology. And then, we've talked about the smartwatch a lot already, but this has really changed. I feel like I'm the only diabetes mom left in the world who doesn't have one. But I don't think I would ever look up from my wrist. It has very little to do with tracking diabetes anymore. My son's an adult, right? I know, but I feel like I would just be walking around. I'm already bad with my phone. I'm not even checking my blood glucose. So I would terrible. But talk to me about, we could be here for 6 hours talking about watches, but talk to me about Apple and Android.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to wearing a smartwatch, especially when you have diabetes. In fact, I haven't worn my Apple Watch really for over a year because it caused anxiety. But it's also a great tool. So there are moments when I'll put it on, like going in a Broadway show, right? And what's so powerful about wearing these devices is that they can connect to either the CGM or an app that gets fed CGM readings, and you have minute by minute updates on your wrist. With the Apple Watch, you have the G7 app. You can open that up and you're able to see what your readings are. You can tap through it and see what the trends are, which can help you take action if needed. For Freestyle Libre users and even Eversense and Medtronic users, there are ways to connect those to the Apple Watch. For example, Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams allows you to connect directly to a Freestyle Libre CGM. There is no Freestyle Libre smartwatch app. I don't understand why they're not prioritizing that, because that is an important feature in my opinion. And I think it's a reason a lot of people would adopt that CGM, but maybe they don't have to because Sweet Dreams exists, right? So people can see their Libre readings using Sweet Dreams on their watch. And also users are using Night Scout as a conduit between their CGM readings and getting that to apps like Sweet Dreams. Night Scout is this platform that allows you to connect different accounts from your pump and your CGM, bring in that information and use it in so many different ways, including the ability to just use that Night Scout link and connect it to an app like Sweet Dreams.
Yeah, that's interesting I didn't realize there wasn't a Libre watch native.
Yeah,
I
don't know what their, And then with Android users, there's Xtrip that allows you to get those Night Scout readings, bring them into Xtrip, and then there's different screens and apps that allow you to see those readings on the Android watch as well.
It's amazing to me that I'm very familiar with Night Scout and X Strip, and we've been talking about them since I started the podcast in 2015. It's almost amazing to think that they are still needed all these years later. And thank goodness that the people who developed them continue to do so and work on them and keep doing, if you're not familiar, I would very much urge you, go to the website, go to diabetes-connections.com, put in the keyword #we are not waiting, and you will see all of the episodes we have done over the years with these amazing people who are creating technology that they want to see, and they're not waiting for the commercial versions of it. I didn't realize, Justin, because I don't have a watch. I didn't realize that they still were needed in that way. The only time I ever wore a smartwatch was when Benny was in middle school, and I used Night Scout to get to the Pebble Watch. And we used that for about 2 years because he really liked to communicate that way. And I still, for old time's sake, I have my Pebble Watch app on my phone. I have not yet. I can't update it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, and there are other watches, like Fitbit has a few different models that people are able to use an app and get their readings. And then there's Garmin. Garmin has a direct relationship with Dexcom. So they have an integration where you can see Dexcom readings. A lot of athletes prefer to use Garmin because it has great settings for workouts and running. But then there's also abilities to use other apps on there as well.
That's great. All right, let's move on and talk about Happy Bob. I have followed this one since the beginning, since they came out. Super fun, but they've changed a lot. They've added a lot of things. Tell me what you know about Happy Bob.
Yeah, so Happy Bob is this app that kind of gamifies your CGM readings and has like this main character on the screen called Happy Bob that you can actually switch out and make it Cranky Bob or Dad Bob, a snowman Bob, whatever. And it uses a point system to take your readings and, you get trophies, you can compete against people. All of that is not why I like it. I personally don't need to gamify my diabetes. In fact, the last thing I want to do is gamify my diabetes. I just don't want to think about it. But what it does allow, and you don't get with Dexcom apps, is there are a few different customizable widgets that it offers that I really like. So there are 3. One of them is it's this large trend graph that you can put as a widget on your lock screen that shows you your readings probably for the last hour. It's like this wire widget that kind of takes the space of 2 widget circles. It's the size of like the larger calendar, if that makes sense to anyone. And then it also lets you show off your time in range. So your percentage of time in range for that day, which is a statistic I've never had on my lock screen before. And it's just been a cool little infographic to have on my phone. And then there's also like the star score, which is something I'm not as interested in, but that's kind of that gamifying number for the app. But yeah, it just has a few different cool features like that I enjoyed. And also on the Apple Watch, it has some widgets as well that you can set up there. So I thought, it's something we should bring up.
I like Happy Bob because I like the philosophy that seems to be behind it, which is like no number's a bad number, right? You don't get a scolding when you're out of range. It makes it kind of funny. It makes it relatable. From what I've seen, it seems like it wants you to feel like you're part of a community.
It does, but like it still sends you a message when you're high. And I'm like, I don't need another message. I don't need this optimistic message saying like, we could be doing better.
All right. Realistic. Very realistic. Listen, I have a kid who he's not using any of this. He's like, I don't want to see my diabetes. I don't care. Well, I shouldn't say I don't care. That's not fair to him. He cares a lot and he's very responsible, but he does not want it front and center. So I get it. I really do. But I think these are, again, options. Justin, it's interesting. You've done this a couple times now where you get something and you're like, well, I like this bit of it. I like that bit of it, but I don't like this bit. Is it worth getting some of these things just to pull those few features out? I mean, I'll list cost and all the practical stuff later on, but just in terms of the effort to get them.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the apps are simple. You download them and you use what you like out of it, right? I have Happy Bob on my phone. I never open the app. I just use these widgets because I like to have them on my screen. When it comes to glucose and sugar pixel and, physical devices, I love them. I can't think of anything I don't really like. Like maybe glucose doesn't have as many features as sugar pixel, but it really comes down to what fits your lifestyle the best. What's the best for your family member or friend who has diabetes? What could work well for them? It depends on the setting they're going to be used. Yeah, they're easy to get. If you have the means and you think that it will help you in one way or another, then it's totally worth it. The amount of times that I've used Sugar Pixel and glucose subconsciously has got to be, I mean, so many
Yeah,
times.
that's good to
Just
know.
that comfort that they provide, or that extra 5 to 10 minute head start, seeing glucose go from green to orange or yellow, and knowing, okay, I'm kind of moving downward. Let me go grab a couple M&Ms. I don't need to treat a low. I can prevent a low just with a couple M&Ms or something.
Yeah. And then as we wrap this up, let's talk about something really physical. We talk about a lot of apps. You like the Frio insulin coolers. I love these. They're great. Just, I mean,
They're
endorsed, done, ready to move on. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, they're so easy. I think like a lot of these devices are great, like holiday gifts, right? But Brio's just like such a stocking stuffer. It's like the perfect shape for one.
Love it.
I'm here to be your QVC guy. But basically, Frio, the way it works is it's these little pouches that hold vials of insulin or insulin pens, and they have these little balls in them that when you put the pack on submerge it under water for 10 to 15 minutes, these balls get hydrated and keep whatever's inside the packet cool. So this can be used for any type of medication that just needs to stay cool. And they last for, I believe it's 72 hours. They'll keep the contents cool. They come in different sizes. I have one that fits like 2 vials or an insulin pen, then one that fits 2 pens. And then I have one that also fits like 5 for times when I'm moving. Like I've had to move apartments, or like I moved cross country, right? So I had to take all of my insulin. So that really large one is for moments when you're taking your entire stash with you. But then the other ones are great for, popping in your bag when you're going to the beach, or you're going on a weekend vacation, or you're going for a long vacation, because you can use them to transfer, put your stuff in the refrigerator, and then when you're going to go again anywhere, you just submerge it underwater again, and it kind of re-ups on that 72 hours.
Yeah, it's great. We've used it a lot in the past, especially when Benny was younger. And at the beach, I like them because we have the larger size. And with a tubed insulin pump, you can take that off and put the pump in the Frio, and then put the whole thing in the cooler. So my cooler at the beach, I mean, we were such a joke, but we had, insulin, devices, Coke, drinks, snacks. Do you want pretzels or an insulin pump? Right. All in the cooler. But the Frio works really well. And they've come on the show to tell their story, which if you haven't heard, it's really interesting. It really basically came from an earthquake situation where they couldn't get medication years ago. So they've been around for a long time, and they have a great product.
Well, and that's the best part about it, is that it requires no electricity to use it, right? Most other devices have like an ice pack that you have to put in a freezer. But this, you just have to use water, and you could even use, you could use dirty water if you didn't have access to clean water.
Product,
you could,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we should add that by keeping it cool, it basically tries to keep it at room temperature. This isn't a refrigeration situation. It'll keep it safe enough so that you won't need new insulin. You just pop it in the fridge when you get there, like you said. But I had a couple of people who've called me and said, like, it didn't keep it 40 degrees. And it's like, no, it's room temperature. It keeps it cool. It protects against heat and extreme cold. And it made me think of something. This is your list. We love the list, but I want to add something here at the end if I could.
Ooh.
And that is the ViviCap by Tempramed, which is a little bit more expensive than the Frio, but it works really well. And we used this when Benny went to Israel, and when Benny has been in some very hot climates. It's basically a cap. You don't need to charge it. You stick it on the end of an insulin pen in place of the top of the insulin pen, and it keeps it cool. It's a really, really interesting technology. They're very proprietary, so I can't tell you how it works, but it's a very cool device. And they're coming out with some new technology, they say. I haven't seen what that is, but the ViviCap is a nice one. And they have specials and sales every once in a while.
Like, is this a device that you have to charge?
You don't charge it. You just kind of, you pop it on the end of the pen, and it'll tell you when it's working or when it's not. Like, it has a little indicator, but it says on the website lasts for years. We have had one. I haven't tried it in a while. I want to say it definitely lasted really well for a year and a half, but I'm not sure Benny kept using it after that. So I'll check in with them and link up. We're going to link up information on all of these products, so I'll link that up as well. But it's an interesting product to watch. And as we're speaking, I looked it up and, I was familiar with it for insulin, but it's anything that comes in a pen. They're now talking, it says it fits all insulin pens, it fits Ozempic pens.
Something for people to keep an eye out for is I just noticed that the ViviCap is FSA compatible, right? So if you have an FSA or HSA, some of the devices we talked about, as definitely ViviCap, I believe Frio also, you can use funds if you're in the US and you have these, you can use funds from those accounts to purchase these devices.
Yeah, I'm going to link up, like we said, a lot more information about what they cost, where to get them. Hopefully we can kind of dig in there a little bit and I can make a little note of whether they're HSA or FSA eligible. Because, we started off by saying these are not prescription items. So the quote unquote need, is not something that you may be able to spend money on. But as you pick and choose what you can, I think it would be really helpful to understand where your insurance might be able to pitch in a little bit. And it's always good. What a little segue to just say, make sure you know where you can spend, because I don't know what we went years and years. I'm trying to remember what the product was. It was something small. And then I found out that our insurance would cover it. I think it was Skin Tack and Tack Away and the little wipes that you use to kind of, the barrier wipes, and our insurance would cover it. And it wasn't that much money, but every little bit helps.
Yeah, that was me with test strips.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know, because I came into diabetes at a time when you mostly use CGM. And I didn't realize, I hit my deductible so I could really buy whatever I wanted, get whatever I wanted for free. I didn't realize I could get test strips, covered through insurance and get them for free at that point. So I went crazy.
One of these days, I used to do a game show for Diabetes Connections, and it was based on Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR. But one of these days, I should figure out a game show where I do old and, now and then, and like the different decades, because we did finger sticks 10 times a day for like 9 years. A totally different world. I wonder what I'm going to brainstorm now what I could do.
Yeah, I love that. I'll be on it.
You'd be great. Let's just take a quick second before we go for just some fun little things. I know not everybody would do stocking stuffers or little holiday gifts for diabetes, but for some families, this works really well. And there's so many little things. Talk to me about what you think would be on your list.
Yeah. So one thing that's very practical, but also kind of fun, are just adhesive patches to keep on your infusion sites, your tubeless pumps, your CGMs. There's so many different companies out there that sell patches that can go on these, that are colored, that have different designs and work really well, especially if you're an active person, you're going on vacation. I always take them on like vacations where I know I'm going to be swimming a lot. So those are a very practical gift, but also just like a must-have on, I guess, like vacations, especially wet ones. And then something that's really fun is just like stickers. There's a few different companies out there that create just like little stickers that go on your pump. They'll do decals for the actual pumps. And then for Omnipod or different CGMs, they have all the shapes that work with them. And they have stickers for, all the holidays. I've worn Halloween ones, winter ones, Christmas, Hanukkah. For Pride every year, I get a few, and That's awesome. It's a way of just showing my pride on my little CGM. And it just makes them look more fun, and kids love them. Like, this is a way that you can be like, hey, let's put on your CGM, which is not maybe a fun thing for a kid, but you get to choose the sticker. It's a way to kind of make diabetes a little more fun.
I think to that point, there are a couple of companies that make toy-sized diabetes gear. So your child, a lot of kids will learn through play and relate through play. So they may have a stuffed animal that suddenly has diabetes, or you get them one that does. That toy can then be accessorized with tiny little insulin pumps and tiny little fake CGMs. And I thought that was brilliant when I first saw that, because Benny immediately decided that Elmo had diabetes. And so Elmo, we gave a lot of injections to Elmo. He drank a lot of juice boxes, and that would have been really cool to stick. We actually did try to tape like old infusion sets on him, which was a mess, but it would have been great to have the little toy ones. So those were, Benny was 23 months old when he was diagnosed. So we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We were just trying all sorts of silly stuff. And even now he is 20 years old, and I get him stuffed animals from diabetes events. Like if somebody's giving away a dinosaur, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, he has those at home. He doesn't take them anywhere anymore, but it's kind of a funny thing that he still likes. So you never know. These are fun gifts. And you know your child and you know your family. You know the adults with diabetes in your life, what they would like. If it's a skull and crossbones, great. If it's a smooshy animal, great. We just want to make it easier to try to find the fun in this.
Yeah, and there are even some companies that let you create your own or use your own image so you can, design your own.
I love it. Well, Justin, thank you so much. All the places to find you. I mean, you're a digital nomad, so right now we don't know where to find you where you're living, but we can always find you at your podcast or your site. So we really appreciate that. Tell us a little bit more about what you're up to, because I can never keep track.
Yeah, while you may not be able to find me physically, digitally, there's lots of places. So my name on social and everywhere is Diabetech, DIABE_tech. And I'm on TikTok and Instagram, YouTube. I have my podcast airs on YouTube, but also podcast platforms, as well as long form videos where I'm reviewing technology or talking about my experiences living with type 1 diabetes. And then we also have a newsletter, which we're starting to do. So I'm writing blog posts about my experiences wearing devices when I speak to companies and when I learn from them, kind of creating this like written format area for people to join. So I'm super excited about that too.
That's awesome. Well, we will follow you. Thank you so much for being here, and happy shopping.
Happy holidays.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
Like I said, we're going to link up all the information about all the products we talked about. Just go to diabetes-connections.com. I'm going to put the links in the show notes. A couple of those links will be affiliate links. I'm not quite sure how that's going to show up in the show notes. I'll try to mark where I can, just so you know when it's an affiliate link. But some of the apps where you're listening, it might make it kind of hard to do that. You can always head on over to diabetes-connections.com. I know a bunch of you think I go a little bit overboard with the disclosures here, but I think it's very important to be clear about this kind of stuff. Again, for our U.S. listeners, I hope you have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. I hope the traffic's not too bad. I hope the food is absolutely delicious and bolus worthy. I hope that nobody in your family plays the part of the diabetes police. And I hope nobody tries to sneak a sugar-free cherry pie into your dessert table. Thanks as always to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
For many of you, as you listen, this is going to sound like a weird question. Why do you use the insulin pump you've got on right now? There's a really good chance that you went on that pump 15 or 20 years ago because it's what your doctor had back then, and you've never really thought about changing. That was us until Benny's Pump Company went out of business. And I was amazed how much things had changed when we looked for a new one. I'm telling you, it is time to take advantage of what's new. If you need a sign to switch, this is it. Omnipod 5. The tubeless automated insulin delivery system is here, and it's available through the pharmacy, which means that you can try it today, even if your tubed pump is under warranty. Fill out the quick online form, see if you're eligible for a free trial. Go to diabetes-connections.com, click on the Omnipod logo. For full safety risk information and free trial terms and conditions, visit omnipod.com/diabetesconnections.